Welcome to another video. Today's video I'm going to be working back on my 67 Ford Mustang, installing an oil cooler. Stay tuned. So this is the oil cooler I'm going to be attempting to install here. So this is a Evil Energy oil cooler. It comes with the cooler, the little adapter for the oil filter, and then the little insert. So this is actually the one I'm going to use here. What's neat about this kit is that it's not too thick, so it's only about maybe about an inch and a quarter thick. Let's take a look here. Yeah, about an inch, a little bit less than an inch and a quarter. And so this goes right on your, instead of, you know, where your filter mounts. And you put this one, this is going to thread into the thread where your filter would thread in. And then your filter is going to thread in here. So makes it simpler. Now I think I do have enough room here on the car to accept or to be able to put that adapter in there. Let me get the hood open here. I finally put some springs on here. These are the Shelby springs, so they're a little bit lighter. So I can actually open the hood and it stays open, so it doesn't slam. It didn't really slam because it's really light, but it would close, so I would have to put a stick in here. Anyways, the oil filter on this car here is pretty close to the shock tower. It's hard to see without a flashlight, so let me get a flashlight here. All right. So that's where the oil filter is. So you can tell, I think there is enough room where if I put that adapter plate, I can still use that same oil filter on the car, which Motorcraft is the FL1A. It's this size here, which is pretty long. I did order this other filter, so this is the same thread, pretty much the same, you know, with everything. This is a FL300. It's just a shorter filter. And there's different brands, but I may just run this one here, which is a little bit shorter, and that way it gives me more clearance. So if I can't put the regular one on there, I can run this one in there as well. The kit came with some AN hoses and fittings. I already put these fittings here on the adapter plate, so I just put some it came with like O-rings, and then I also put some thread sealant on there. And these ones are just plugs, so you can put like an additional feed line for, you know, if you have turbos or if you want a oil pressure sensor, you can put it on there. This one's already came made from the directions on the kit, very generic. It showed that these had to be made, so I'm not sure if you get a kit like this from Amazon like I did, if it's gonna have the ends already made. So I am gonna try to shorten these to the right length, so we'll see if that works out. What I'm gonna be doing first is, I already have the car jacked up here, and my plan is to have this cooler here. I know I wanted to put fog lights here, kind of how these cars go, but I also kind of want to do the oil cooler right in this area here, just that way it's right there up front. I know I have enough room for it to fit in here. I'm pretty sure I have, yep, so I put it in here before, so there's enough room where if I drill holes on the bottom for the hoses, I should be able to put the cooler just like this, and then the hoses would be right here on the bottom. So I think that's gonna be the plan. I'm gonna go underneath here, just see if, you know, if that looks good. I'll start making some holes here for these. And then I had pulled out these brackets that I found, so I may just make these brackets work where I can bolt it to these and then weld this to the frame of the car, or actually bolt it down. Maybe just cut it and then weld it. So let me get underneath here and see if that's the best spot. If I don't find any other spot that may work better for this, that's where it's gonna go. There's really not a lot of room really on the car here left. So, you know, I have the transmission cooler right here. My other kind of idea was to put it somewhere in here underneath. So I'm gonna look and see, and if that doesn't work, then I will move forward with just putting it in here. If I end up putting it in here, then that's fine. It's gonna be right in here. And then when I get the grill material, I'm just gonna put that material right in front. So, you know, it just kind of looks uniform, covers everything, and there's not gonna be the lights. And I don't need to have those fog lights in there anyway. Okay, so I went ahead and drilled the 2 holes there. Now, those are big enough there. I gotta clean all the fiberglass residue, and if you do this, make sure you wear eye protection and a mask. Fiberglass gets everywhere, it's itchy. I already did try, and the cooler does go in there all the way. Now, to get this cooler in there this way, I'm gonna have to kind of push it in. So I'm gonna wait till I'm pretty much ready to bolt it on, because I don't want to keep pulling it in and out. So what I'm gonna do now is this 2 little holes. I'm gonna drill 2 small holes on each side where, you know, I'm gonna put a bolt through it. But to mark it, I'm just gonna go from the bottom. And actually, I might have to drill the holes out just slightly. But I'm gonna go from the bottom and then mark them from the bottom. That way, once I drill them, I can just put this in there and it's gonna be on there for good. So I should be able to take it out, but I don't wanna keep scratching here on top. I'm gonna at least only try to do it once, and then that's it. So I am gonna drill these out just slightly more, because besides the fitting going through, I need this nut on the back to go all the way through, and it looks like on one side it's just slightly needs a little bit more, so it goes all the way through. So okay, went ahead and drilled out the holes and made the small little holes there. I went ahead and also found some bolts that I'm gonna use, so they're just gonna be like the Allen hex on top, and then the lock washer on the, or lock nut on the bottom. And once I get it in there, then I'll need to mark where this will fit, and I'll probably modify this, just cut it, clean it up, and paint it. I think I am gonna end up just welding the other end to the frame and then just drilling the holes. So if I ever need to remove that piece, I can just unbolt it, but this piece will stay on the car itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to put this in here. Slide it in there, because that's pretty much where it's gonna go. I was thinking about painting something in there, so when I did the cooler on my Saline, I did kind of like the letters. They're hard to see there, but so I was thinking of doing something like that on here. I couldn't really come up with, if I do like 1967, that'll be, you know, 1, 9, 6, 7. I guess I could do something like that, or just like a big 6, 7. I'm not sure. I think I'm just gonna leave it alone, just so it's dark. Plus, if I put a grill, it's gonna be hard to see anyway. So I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. So let me see if I can slip it in place, see what it looks like once it's in there. Okay, fits in there tight to get it in there. I did scratch my bumper a little bit there, so I'm gonna just have to put a little bit of touch-up paint on the top. I think I just did a really tiny little scratch there, a little bit here, but what's in it's in here. It's you know, if it's pretty good. So if it's nice and flat, so once I get the screws in the bracket, it's gonna be nice and tight in there. There's still room back here between the other ones, and I mean, quite honestly, if I get some fog lights, because I could put the fog lights a little bit further out, I could potentially fit them in there. I just don't know if I want that much stuff up here. So I will definitely order some mesh, like grill material, and that's gonna be probably maybe right here in front of these little loops. That way you don't really see that. You know, it goes kind of here, or maybe just right on top. So that'll cover that little scratch anyways. And you'll have to really look kind of closely to see it, but that looks pretty good. So I'm gonna figure out these brackets and the bolts. So if we go down here, it's gonna be a little bit of the, I guess not harder part, but just this is gonna take a little bit more time. The hoses I already figured out, they have the angle, so I think I'm gonna use the angle on this side, and they're just gonna come this way, just kind of like here, go through this opening right where the filter is. And I think on the filter, the two lines are gonna go from the bottom, so they're gonna go right here and go up. And that's just that way here they don't come down too much. So I think that would work. And then the plan is to, so you see those two holes, that's where the bolts are gonna go through. The plan is to have this little bracket right here. So I'll put the marker, mark the holes. I want to bolt the cooler to this bracket first, but I want it to be right there. And then I think, so my plan is to maybe cut this bracket, so just kind of like in an angle like this, across, and then here on the front just cut it short, just right at the end of here, and I can weld this, just this top part here to the top of the frame here. So I don't need this, you know, all the way down to weld it. I can just weld here, 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 and that should be strong enough. And then let me just kind of get my marker here to mark it. Hopefully through the top I can get the point of the marker to all the way through. Let's see which marker. I think this one might work better. So I think this is where the marks are. Let's just double check. Now those holes on the top might not be the best, but yeah, they look pretty good. So at first I marked it here, and then I marked in these two, which pretty much it's the same thing. It's just, you know, different areas. I think I'll use like these two marks here, just because they're a little bit farther in, and that way the nut on the other side, it's not too far at the edge. I think I might also cut this flat here so the nut's not I mean, actually if I drill that, that may be good if they're on these two. So then the plan, what I was thinking is to, and it sucks that there's this hole there, but I was thinking of just kind of cutting this bracket like this somewhere, just to kind of, I don't need this big old piece, and then here just cutting it here. So, you know, when I weld here, I can just weld here at the bottom and a little bit on the side to the frame, sand this a little bit, and then cut that there. So, you know, I may just leave it as a whole bracket there, just in case I ever change cooler. There's more area there I can mount things to, so I may just leave the whole bracket as it is. But first, I'm gonna have to drill these holes here. And then I'll mark the other one, do the same thing. And cut it here, clean it up, paint it so it looks nice. At least paint the top, and then here I'm gonna have to leave it grind here. Cover with fiberglass. I don't think the welding is, you know, would go good with the fiberglass, but gonna do all that, and then I'll come back and see if we can start getting it all together. So this is one of the brackets. Drill the holes, went ahead and put the bolts to the top, so that's gonna go right there, and then, you know, bolt on or hold it onto the frame. Did the same thing on the other ones. I'm just gonna finish cutting this. I think these are pretty tight on the fiberglass, which that's not a bad thing. I'm just gonna make these slightly bigger so there's a little bit of play in the bracket, so I can get as tight as I can here to the frame before I weld it, but it's pretty good lined up. And so I'm gonna finish modifying the bracket and weld it on here, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. Okay, so went ahead and welded the brackets here to the frame. I went ahead and sprayed some black paint on the welds. I had painted the brackets on the top side because I knew I couldn't get to them after. And then I just sprayed a little bit more black paint here on the frame since the overspray of the red had made it a little bit red, so just so it looks red. I also installed the adapter there from the oil filter for the cooler lines. And just a reminder, I guess, while I'm down here, when you build new engine, new car, I checked all the bolts here for the oil pan. I was just down here, and they were like pretty much hand tightened. So I guess they came a little bit loose since I put the engine together. So I just went ahead and tightened them all up. I'm gonna let the paint dry here a little bit before I try to route the hoses, and then I think I'm gonna have to cut them a little bit. That way they're the right length and they're not too long, and then maybe put the new ends on them. I went ahead and tightened up the bolts also for the oil cooler there on both brackets. And so here on top, they're just like the Allen hex, pretty flat. So really, you know, they're just low profile little bolts on there. They're not gonna stick out or anything. They're also stainless, which is nice, so they don't rust or anything. Although up here in New Mexico, things don't rust that easily as some of the states up north, or more to the East Coast, I guess. But so that's all set. I'm just gonna let the paint dry, like I said, and make the hoses. I did get some. One of my friends had some AN fittings here with an angle, so like I showed before, these ones are gonna go on the side, on the oil cooler side, but on the other side, just that way they're a little bit more close, and I don't have to, you know, because they're coming down, so to bend the hose, I'll have to put at least, you know, 6 inches away from the oil filter adapter. If I use these, I can just put it pretty close, maybe like 3 inches away. So I have a couple of 90s, a couple of 45s. We'll see which one works best. And then we'll finally get it all set. And this will be all done. So now that everything is dry and set in here, I have the hoses. So these came with the angle. And they're just hand tying right now, but they're gonna go here on the front, come together. There's like a little bracket to hold them together. And then I am gonna use these 45-degree fittings, because that would make the hoses just pretty much straight. One on each side, just like this, and then go into the bracket. I did end up using the short filter. I just put it in here to see how it looked. The original size filter actually almost fits. I mean, it's like a 1/4 inch that it needs to kind of go up so it would thread. And so I think it depends on the brand, right? I think some brands are a little bit different, so you might be able to get a regular filter in there, but this short one is just fits right in there. So I'm gonna just go ahead and mark these lines as long as I need them, and then take them off and take the fittings that I came with, take them out, and then put these fittings on there. So that way I can tighten this up. And then I am gonna do an oil change since I'm here. I already, I'm putting a new filter on. This oil has about 1,000 miles, and this engine was all new when I put it in there. So usually you want to change, break-in oil about 1,000 miles. So I'm gonna do that, put new oil, fresh oil. And they say to add about 1/2 quart at least extra oil when you first put the oil cooler on there, because some oil is gonna be stuck in the lines and everything. So I'm gonna probably put 1/2 quart more, and then I'll check the level afterwards and see what it looks like. But I'm gonna cut the lines and make them, and I'll show you, because I never done these before. I think they're gonna be a little hard, but we'll see what it looks like. Okay, I went ahead and created the first one here. It's kind of hard to really, the hardest part, and I never done this, so I wanted to do this first off camera, because I didn't know what I was gonna do. But the hard part is when you cut the hose, this outer layer kind of spreads out, and you have to put this hose inside of here, which has those ridges in there, and it's really tight. I mean, you can't just like put it in there. It's just next to impossible to put it in there. They do sell the tools that kind of hold this stuff. What I found easier is I put a little bit of grease here on the fitting, kind of put the hose sideways, the side that was a little bit worse. I did use this kind of wire cutters to cut some of that just around the edge, right? You're not gonna cut it all out, but once I got it in there started, then I was pushing it against the toolbox here with one hand, and then with the other hand I was kind of pushing this stuff in there to kind of guide it as I was pushing on it, and that made it go in there. And then once I did a little bit that way, I would hold it and then use this kind of a mallet and hit the fitting in there, and then did it again, push against it. Now I'm gonna record the next one, but I was able to get it done that way. So I'm gonna get the other one out or mark the other one, and then I'll see if I can make it. It's not too bad. I think once you make a few of them, then you get the hang of it. This is my first one. I mean, it is a little bit hard, but I think if I had all the right tools, it would make it easier. So I'm gonna put this in there, mark the other one, and then I'll show you guys how I did it. That doesn't mean that's the right way. I'm sure there's plenty of videos out on YouTube that show you how to do it. So let's get the other one out. Okay, so as you saw there, that's how I got it all together. It's not too bad, really. I guess, you know, if you have the tools that hold everything, I think it'll make it a lot easier, but it's not too terrible. Now it's going to be the actual test if I'm going to put this in the car, and hopefully this thing doesn't come apart, because that's right on the oil, and that's a lot of oil that would be coming out. So I'm going to go route this back in, put it in the car, and then I'll show you guys what the finished product looks like. Alright, so the oil cooler is installed, got the car running. No leaks at all, oil pressure is fine. Sitting about 50 right now, so everything looks pretty good. I'm just gonna let it warm up and make sure there's no leak. Okay, went ahead and had the car running for a while, let it warm up. I did uncover, or I did get a small leak from the fitting down here, which is the one right at the cooler. Man, oil gets pretty darn hot. But I just had to tighten it down a little bit, and it's not leaking no more. Nothing else seems to be leaking, so that is a plus. I did change the oil. I'm gonna check it now that it settles down. I did put an extra half quart, and then I'll have to check if I need to put anything else in there. So, but that's pretty much it for putting an oil cooler on your car. Obviously, each car is gonna be different how you mount it, but overall the idea is the same, so it's not too bad. That's it for this video. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. Subscribe to our channel. We'll see you next time.